Good afternoon and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, LeBron James is already out. Now Luka will miss some time for the Lakers. Do they need Austin Reaves to score 50 every night? Meanwhile, Victor Wembanyama is off to a historic start, but will it last? And don't look now, but the Rockets and Celtics still haven't won a game.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks so much for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Wes Goldberg, and we have our overreactions to the first week of the season coming up, and we're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. We have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast, senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
We are, 6 days into the season. I would give several organs for Cedric Coward. Like, I would gladly give up several organs to him if he needed them. Like, if it was just like, hey, Cedric Coward doesn't really need your lung, but he can play better basketball if you give your lung up, I'd be like, cool, no problem.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report, it's Haize.
On this, we do agree. Cedric Coward, I texted you guys earlier. He is somebody who probably is going to be looked at as one of the steals of this draft. Not just a steal in this draft, one of the steals of this draft.
And we all agree this might be one of the best draft classes we've seen in maybe more than 20 years. We'll talk about that as we get to our overreactions. But we have to start with the big news from the weekend that Luka Doncic is going to miss at least a week because of a left finger sprain and a lower left leg contusion. He's going to be reevaluated in a week, but according to multiple reports, the Lakers are optimistic that he won't need any more time than that. Here's Locked On Lakers with more.
The Lakers' level of concern over Luka is pretty minor, and they're all pretty confident that while a week without Luka is obviously an obstacle that needs to be overcome, there is not a lot of concern that this is going to stretch into 2 weeks, 3 weeks. All of a sudden, he's out nearly as long as LeBron is. In this game, for a variety of circumstances, Austin had the ball in his hands by himself. I imagine his usage rating is going to be somewhere in the high 30s.
I want to put a pin in that point on Austin Reaves here in a second. He scored 50 points in that Lakers win over the Kings on Sunday. But before all that, Haize, the Lakers, they're 2-1. Okay, so it's not like red alarm fire here right now, but LeBron James is still sidelined, still unclear how much longer that's going to be. Luka now out. This is not the start that the Lakers wanted.
It's definitely not the start that the Lakers wanted. It's a difficult start for any team to miss their two best players. With Luka being out a week, LeBron still has no clear timeline on a return. But then you get a game like this from Austin Reaves. And I will say this, when Luka was in there, it looked more promising than I thought that it would. DeAndre Ayton had a big game as well last night to go along with Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura. And maybe you need them. Like, depth is a problem for the Lakers. It's a question for the Lakers. And so now with having these guys out there and ready to go, maybe they forward something to where you feel a little bit more confident about this depth once Luka and LeBron are back.
I think it's fine. Like, look, they've got Portland coming up this week, Minnesota, who might be without Anthony Edwards. He's dealing with hamstring tightness. Memphis, who I don't know what to expect from night to night at this point. They're going to get clacked by Miami because Miami's a wagon right now. Then they play Portland again. Like, even if Luka's out a week, they'll be fine. Like, they'll be okay. To me, like, you gotta look at Austin Reaves, who I know we'll talk about. I think they're settling in. I'm a little just kind of like last night. I am kind of rolling my eyes a little bit just because, as good of a win as it was, there's that part of me that's like, of course the Kings did this. Of course the Kings did this because they're the Kings. But I think in general, I think the Lakers are going to be fine. The big key is going to be for this team is going to be post Thanksgiving to All-Star. Like, that's where the Lakers have to be in a position to show that they are the team that they wanted to be this season. That is really where they're going to be healthy, focused, and have things figured out.
Gabe Vincent also left Sunday's game with an apparent ankle injury too. So that's out there as well. So multiple ball handlers now missing time for the Lakers. Austin Reaves goes off for 50 points in that game in Sacramento. Haize, who else needs to step up for the Lakers in the meantime?
Uh, Guys, I mentioned Real Hachimura, DeAndre Ayton. These guys need to step up and play really well. It'd be nice for Dalton Connect to look like an NBA player at some point as well, too, considering where he was drafted at. So, all those guys need to step up over this time and see what they can give consistently for this team.
Austin Reaves needs to shoot 22 free throws tonight.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan at the podium last night. I saw that note. He was looking at the box score. He's like, he shot 22 free throws and just walked off. It's amazing. Go check it out on NBA Reddit. It was absolutely incredible. I do think it's the Reeves point is really kind of fascinating to ask. This is the kind of thing where he does this with the Lakers, and then some team overpays for him this summer, and then he wildly disappoints. I feel like I've seen this show before a lot when guys do this with the Lakers, and then they go somewhere else, and all of a sudden the magic fades, especially when a guy shoots 22 free throws in a game.
Is this the formula though? While Luka and LeBron are out, is just the Austin Reaves, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll. My question, I guess, zooming out a little bit more bigger picture, based on what we've seen just in 3 games, again, we're going to do our overreactions and all these things. So understanding that everything is a bit of an overreaction at this point, but we got to react to something here. Are you guys more or less confident in the Lakers when they do eventually get healthy than where you were to start the season, Matt?
Less. I think starting Marcus Smart was a good call here. I think that he needs to be in that starting unit as much as possible before you get to their preferred lineup, which is Luka, LeBron, Rui, Ayton, and Reeves. You need Marcus Smart, I think, as much as possible. +7 last night. That defense, I think, is going to be the really big key for them. But when I look at kind of how they performed overall, I do think that I don't really know what their identity is. I don't really know what their style is going to be. And those questions, I think, are pretty big, where I think that there's enough there for them to figure out some stuff to get them within range of the playoffs. But I need to see a lot more from them in terms of figuring out who they are before I think that they're in a good spot. I'm a little concerned about the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, I have a concern about the Lakers, but keep in mind, I wasn't a team that was really high on them regardless. I think they're going to win a lot of regular season games. I have some questions about the playoffs, but I don't think they're at the place now where they feel like they're anywhere close to the final version of this team either. Whatever success they have this year is going to help add clarity for how much they need to do this upcoming offseason and, add to their risk tolerance to make certain moves. But I was never one of those team that looked at the Lakers like they were ready to be a championship contender necessarily this season anyway.
And we still haven't seen this team with LeBron James on the court either, right? And I think that's also obviously a big part of this. He's one of those guys that can fill in the gaps if he wants to. So we'll see what happens with the Lakers. Austin Reaves is going to have to step up, man. I'm glad you read the schedule there. They could feasibly get through this thing. Luka come back, and then maybe we're a week or 2 away from LeBron James coming back. And maybe it looks a little bit more optimistic than it does right now for the Lakers. But they are 2-1. Like I said, no red alarm fires going off right now, but the injuries piling up early on is not what you want to see for a team that's thin on depth. Meanwhile, Victor Wembanyama is off to a historic start, but one person in San Antonio is worried that he might not be able to keep it up. We'll talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth between 401ks, savings, investments. It's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. It's helped me organize my accounts, track my spending, get better handle on my investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. I love that I can review everything with my partner, see our shared goals, and make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money is going and how I can make it work harder for me. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay. You get no hidden fees at checkout. Plus, I could see exactly what my view is going to look like at my seat before I bought the tickets with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are a game changer. You just pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDON, NBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We're 1 week into the season, fellas, so it is a perfect time for some overreactions. Matt, I want to start with you.
I will start actually with something that I didn't have on the rundown, which I think is like a big one. The Magic offense is not fixed. Magic offense is not fixed. They are number 1 in expected field goal percentage over at cleaning the glass. They are 28th in actual. They still cannot hit water if they fell out of a boat. What happens if Orlando just cannot shoot again this season? This team cannot get to 48 wins if your offense is going to be this atrocious. Paolo Banchero is still not efficient. Like, I am deeply concerned about the Orlando Magic offense. This is like a big concern for me. That will have to be my first one right off the bat here.
Yeah, the Orlando Magic's offense is going to be a huge struggle this season, and that's been it'd be different if it was like this is just the start of the season. Genders, this has been a problem for them for years, so that's going to be something that just I don't know if it changes anytime soon at all. Matt, let me throw this back to you real quick before I give mine. Do you think they have the fix to this roster, or are the Magic going to have to make a move to fix their offense?
I think they're going to have to make a move to fix their roster. I think they need another point guard. You know, Jalen Suggs has actually been really good, but I am getting really nervous about the Orlando offense and whether it's just broken. And honestly, personnel may not fix this. Like the seat under Jamal Mosley is going to get hot if they don't correct this.
Desmond Bane shooting less than 30% from three after Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was in that position last year and suddenly also forgot how to shoot threes. Are the Magic just cursed here? I don't like what is happening with that shooting guard position.
Yeah, I mean, I've said like I want the water tested, and it's Florida, so God knows what's going to come up. But
okay,
I just think I have no explanation for how good players go there. Now, I think with Bane, it's important to remember this is the first time that he's been in a new system. This is the first time he's been in a new environment, and oftentimes shooters struggle in that kind of situation. But the level of struggle is what concerns me.
Haize, I want an overreaction from you from the first week.
I think I'll go with the Atlanta thing. The Atlanta Hawks have spent a lot of money this offseason to improve their defense. And their defense is, I believe, second to last in the NBA so far. Yeah, it's only through 3 games, but it just we knew that Atlanta was coming into this season, and they were trying to evaluate what the future of Trae Young is. You added players that were supposed to help with that, and so far their offense hasn't been good. The defense hasn't been good. Yeah, you're incorporating new pieces, but this has been extremely bad. Despite having some pretty solid individual defensive performances, the Hawks team defense has been terrible.
This all opens the door for the Miami Heat to take the division, Wes. This is all setting it up. The Heat are in prime position to steal this because I have been underwhelmed by both the Magic and the Hawks so far. We'll see if the Heat can keep it up, but Davion Mitchell is diming 8 dimes a game. They're in a really good spot. But we buried the lead here because I really want to get that take in on the Magic. Here's the big lead. Wembanyama! Oh my God. Okay, so the thing I love about him is everybody says the same thing. I've never seen anything like it. Mark Stein echoed those sentiments this week after seeing him in person in the Mavs game. Like, this is the thing about him is that when you watch him, if you go see him in person, and I highly recommend that you do, you would just be like, I've never seen anything like this. It's not the size. It's the combination of size and skills. There are these sequences. He's had 2. He had one versus the Nets again, where it's like the 3rd or 4th quarter. And there's a sequence where he blocks multiple shots on a possession, just swats them out of the air. The guy's like, you're not supposed to be able to block that. And then goes down the other end and hits a 3. What we are watching is I have no precedent for. It is breaking my brain what we're seeing from Victor Wembanyama.
I want to throw this quick historic stat. This is from Yahoo Sports' Kendall Baker in his morning newsletter. Victor Wembanyama this season became the first player in NBA history with 100-plus points and 15 plus blocks in the first 3 games of a season. He has more blocks by himself, 18, than all but 6 teams in the league. We have literally never seen this before. I want to now throw it to Locked On Spurs because they brought this up on their most recent episode, and they talked about, hey, this is great now, but we've seen this with Victor Wembanyama. Can it last?
I think Victor and his new and improved shoulders, bigger, stronger, I think he can carry them pretty far, and I think he can get them to a respectable record, maybe break what Vegas has projected for them, about 44, 45 wins. My fear, though, Matt, is that he might get gassed when it counts, and that's towards the end of the season, when maybe playoff positioning or play-in positioning is at stake. That's where I stand on how far he can take them. I think he can take them pretty good record heading into a play-in postseason, but my fear is that he's gonna gas, man.
That was Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs. Haize, are you similarly concerned about Wemby and that usage early on in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be because of his inability yet in his very young NBA career to stay healthy. So I think it's a legitimate concern. It doesn't seem like something like just watching him that he's getting gassed or anything like that. But the wear and tear of an NBA season for a player that hasn't really played 70 games yet is already going to be difficult. So yeah, it's a concern there. But I think overall, especially with the Spurs using their depth really well so far this season, they may be okay to have some games where they can sit him a little bit, and they may have to start making that decision on kind of putting a cap on his minutes here sooner rather than later.
I'm not worried about it. San Antonio has always been very cautious. They've got good systems, and I think that he might push a little bit harder because that kid's so competitive. But I think eventually he will kind of like have to have that come to Jesus talk with somebody in the organization and be like, yeah, all right, maybe we can take this down a little bit. But for right now, man, let the kid have his moment because he's playing unbelievable right now.
I want to get to a few more of these overreactions from the opening week. Matt, do you have another one?
Yeah. So the other one I think that I want to get to is this is the best one. The Sixers without Joel Embiid are amazing. So I'm not trying to pick on Joel. It's not Joel's fault that he's hurt and like has had these like where he's at with those injuries. This summer we heard like, yeah, we don't know. It was bad. Like everything coming out of camp was like, or the Sixers organization was like, we don't know what the future means for Joel Embiid. But I will tell you this, that he's playing 20 minutes and those 20 minutes are painful. And then the rest of the time, the Sixers are dynamite. Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes. Like they are unbelievably fun. They get up and down the floor. They make big shots. They're driving, creating stuff. I love their defensive intensity. Kelly Oubre. Andre Drummond comes in and unks them the other night. They couldn't figure out what to do on the big man side. And like Andre just kind of gets up, dusts himself off from the dust of just sitting around forever, and then goes in and Goliaths them. It was awesome. This Sixers team is honestly one of my favorite teams to watch. And when Joel's not on the floor, again, I'm not trying to like pick on Joel. It's just about the identity of what this team is. Otherwise, this team looks awesome and a lot of fun when they're able to get away from that. And with Paul George still not back, like I would be giving serious thought to some drastic stuff if I'm Daryl Morey in the front office.
That's a great take. I think the 76ers are one of they're an interesting team to watch exactly how this goes because it can be a disaster. It could be great, or they can finally find the direction that they need to go outside of Joel Embiid. But my other one is what we kind of talked about at the opening of the show. Cedric Coward is going to be amazing. He's just such a good basketball player. And I think every once in a while we just kind of overthink some draft stuff. I think Cedric Coward was one of those players that what was going on with him got overthought. People made a lot about his age and how much he didn't play in the schools that he played at and stuff like that. When you just go and look at him in the game of basketball, Cedric Coward is a good basketball player, and he's a two-way player, and he's the exact type of player that you look at and you're like, he can just do a little. He has every tool in the shed. I don't know what that kid can't do, and he doesn't back down from anything.
Haize, because I'm absolutely atrocious at draft scouting. What did you see in him that made you confident that he was going to be this type of guy?
I think it was the defense that and the fact that he while he didn't have a lot of opportunity, his shooting numbers, the splits, when you really looked at him, they were really good. The only thing that doubted is that it was just a small volume. But as a shooter and a defender, like those are the type of guys that I'd be willing to bet on when you get into the 10s and teens in the draft. If you can get a guy that's has a high floor defensively and shooting wise, those are guys that I'd be willing to bet on.
You know who he reminds me of? Jimmy Butler. Like on the court.
It's not a bad take.
Super efficient, doesn't waste any movements, knows exactly. He's a way better shooter than Jimmy Butler is, but just in terms of the way that he moves, he also has those really broad shoulders. You know, he's going to kind of fill into that frame a little bit. He's already really strong. He's going to be even stronger. There's like an opportunistic thing about his game where he's not trying too hard. He's really just taking what the defense gives him, but he's so good at that. It's very like kind of early career Jimmy Butler, maybe even early career like Kawhi Leonard kind of stuff with him. Matt, I know you had a bigger take about this rookie class, though.
Well, yeah, I do, but I just want to say it's really I like these comps when we're like he's like this if. So this is like what if Jimmy Butler wasn't a jackass? So I think
correct.
This rookie class, we're early. This is looking like an all-timer. Now, there have been better individuals like Wembanyama, obviously, right? We got like Zion and a couple of others along the way in terms of individually being incredible. But if we're talking about the class, okay, like Cooper finally got going last night and went over the Raptors. Finally looked like the kind of guy that he was drafted to be. Trey Johnson has been phenomenal for the Wizards. I want him on the court all the time. Like when Trey Johnson comes into the game, I start paying more attention to the Wizards, and I'm already paying a lot of attention to the Wizards. You've got VJ Edgecombe absolutely being tremendous. Cedric Howard, who we just talked about. The Hornets guys, both Knippel and Kalkbrenner, look really good. Like all of the rookies look like they belong on the floor out of this draft class. So many of them look like they belong and that they're going to be contributors to their teams, which is just not what we saw last year in one of the worst draft classes ever. So I cannot be more excited about this one. This could be one of the best overall classes since 2003.
Hey, it's funny. It's one of the few times where everybody was like, hey, this draft class is going to be really good. And it turns out it looks like it's going to be really good. We were all right all the scouts were right about this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times when you have these deep draft classes that like they don't all turn out, but like a lot of players in this class look like they're going to live up to every bit of the hype and the potential that they have. It's very early on still, but they're looking good.
As we kick off the second week of the season, what are we hoping to see that we didn't see in week one? We'll talk about that next here on Locked On NBA Daily. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. The live lines are awesome on a daily basis, obviously, but you can even zoom out. We're talking about this great rookie class. Maybe you want to start placing something on Rookie of the Year. I think Jaime Jaquez Jr. in Miami. I'm kind of looking at those 6 Man of the Year odds right now with him. There are players looking good, and if you're paying attention, you want to get in early with some of these bets. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Grizzlies to hear more about Cedric Howard. I think they just did a whole show on Cedric Howard last week. You're going to want to check out Locked On Lakers for how the Lakers are going to handle the absences of Luka Doncic and LeBron James. And I recently listened to Locked On Celtics, who have a big issue with rebounding. We're going to talk about them here in a second. But before we get to that, a pair of national TV games tonight on Peacock. Cavs at Pistons and Nuggets at Timberwolves. Unlikely that Anthony Edwards is going to play in that Nuggets-Timberwolves game. He left Sunday's game early with a hamstring strain. But let's go back to the East Coast game. Matt, what are you looking for in Cavs at Pistons?
Pistons, got off to a rough start, but then they really have kind of stabilized. The Cavs are all over the place, where I think they underperformed offensively in that game versus the Knicks, and since then have kind of stabilized there. But that game versus the Bucks yesterday was real neck and neck with a banged up Bucks squad. So this is kind of a prove it game, I think, for both teams. If the Pistons find a way to win this game, I think it kind of shows that we can kind of start taking them a bit more seriously, because after their terrible opening night game that had everybody, like Pistons fans, were freaking out and calling for Duncan Robinson's head. He's been great since then. I think that this is a real prove-it game, I think, for the Pistons. For the Cavs, you don't need to prove anything yet. But I do think if they drop this one, I'm going to continue to look at this and be like, look, the Cavs are not immediately outright ahead of everybody else like I thought they might be. And that combined with where the Thunder are at with all their injuries kind of makes this interesting from a, hey, are we going to have a more competitive season for the 1 seed than I thought we were? Because I thought it was going to be Cavs and Thunder, and both teams, I think, have shown a little vulnerability early.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the Cavs thing is that sometimes teams get off to a slow start. Sometimes they're trying to pace themselves, and they'll wake up at some point. But the Cavs weren't really that team last year. They really kind of hit the ground running. So I have my questions about that. The East overall is just I've learned never to, no matter who's the favorite, no matter who looks the best. Like the East standings are you can take a shot at it. It could be anybody any given day, right? Like it could just be that. Like, of course, the Knicks and the Cavs look like two teams that should be head and shoulders above. But I honestly would not be surprised if we get a surprise team that's the 2 or the 1 seed that makes a really good push. We just talked about the Philadelphia 76ers. Like the Milwaukee Bucks also look pretty solid with having shooters and Giannis again. And so like the East, I think is going to be, while people were saying the East was completely wide open, I don't know if I necessarily believe that anymore.
It's a great call, right? I mean, we don't really know outside of some of the I mean, not even outside the top teams, but even the top teams now are disappointing there in the Eastern Conference. And you look at some of the teams that we thought would be a little bit better than they've been this first week. The Boston Celtics are one of those teams. And if you look out west, the Houston Rockets are one of those teams too. Neither of these teams have a win yet. So I want to pose it this way. As surprising as it is that the Rockets and the Celtics don't have a win yet, more likely to get their first win tonight. You got the Celtics playing the Brooklyn Nets, and the Rockets playing, I believe, the Trailblazers. Do I have that right? I had it up and then I closed it out by accident.
Rockets, Nets at Rockets.
At Rockets.
Celtics are at Pelicans tonight.
Celtics at Pelicans. All right, Matt. More likely to get their first win tonight, the Celtics or the Rockets?
I mean, the Rockets. I mean, the Nets are. Oh man, like it is something to watch the Brooklyn Nets, and like they're playing hard. They are competing, but there's very little structure. There's very little restraint on that team. I think Jordi Fernandez is really up against it with trying to get this team to like not be aware of what their circumstances are. Pelicans, I think, are sneaky good at 0-2. Like, I've actually liked the way that they've played in both games. I think the Pelicans are going to keep the Celtics winless here. Haize, like, are we on track? Like, it's 2 games, but we're overreacting. Are we on track here for the Celtics to have to pivot and just tank this season out?
I mean, hey, when they got control back of their pick, that was one of the things that we looked out for. Like, are they doing this because in the case the season goes wrong, that they have their pick? So I wouldn't be surprised with that. But I agree with you. The Rockets get their first win because they are taking on the Nets. We don't know what the Nets are. The Pelicans are a tough team. I don't care what their record says. And I think the Pelicans are going to surprise some people this season overall too.
The Celtics tanking was not something that I had considered here. I'm thinking about them potentially missing the playoffs. And if that looks like it's going to be the case, then why not go all the way, kind of that way, and try to get
with what they've been able to do in those situations. Like, I mean,
even Hugo Gonzalez looks like a nice pick at the end of the first round there. So if you're able to get another high pick, they need to develop guys who are going to be part of this core going forward. This is not a gap year in Boston, right? Like they've lost a lot of the players that were part of that title team. It's not a rebuild. That seems like a strong word, Haize, but like of the guys in Boston right now, I don't really know outside of Jaylen Brown, Derek White, like who are the long-term pieces there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pieces that we are kind of knew about, like I said, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, those guys. But you said it right. It's rebuild is too strong of a word, but a major retooling is. If they can retool that roster that has those huge salaries with some good young quality pieces, including if they do tank this year and get a high pick, it's probably the best off for them.
Yeah, but you can't do that with Tatum in his prime still. Like he's coming off the Achilles. You can't just pivot and be like, hey, we're gonna put you around a bunch of young guys.
You can't if those young guys are good.
No, because you can't win with them. Like
that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, but like the Thunder didn't win with rookies. Like, it's one thing you would be basically punting on next year, right? Like if you're trying to follow the Thunder model, okay, but like then like they're not gonna be ready to win in year one.
I think the only reason why I fight back on that, usually I would agree with you, is that their core is still intact. You Tatum, Brown, Pritchard, Derek White. Even if you do surround them with younger players, and you can still fill out with some veterans, because there are going to be veterans that are willing to take the vet minimum to come in, like their roles are going to be so streamlined in the sense of, like, if they do draft a big, let's say, rebound the ball, block shots. We don't worry about anything else. Would develop your offense over the next couple of years. I think there's a world in which they can have those guys surrounded by some young players, fill out the rest of the roster with veterans, because playing off Jason Tatum, playing off Jaylen Brown, when those guys are healthy, the game becomes so simple for you. For example, Derek White, almost 80% of his shots one season were assisted and considered wide open. If a rookie can't thrive in that, they're probably not good.
Maybe. I think it's a good point. I think I'm still kind of hung up on, I think they need to get an actual front court threat. So for me, a lot of this is, I don't know if, I just think it's very unlikely that both White and Brown are there in 2 years. I just don't think that that's likely. And I don't know how that ends, but something probably winds up moving in that component.
Different front office, different ownership at that time. But we saw this in 2008 when they wanted to make that move around Paul Pierce. They traded their top pick and they went out and got Kevin Garnett. They went out and got Ray Allen, and they kind of used that youth to go out and get veterans around the core guy. At that point, it was Paul Pierce, obviously. Who knows if they would do the same thing again, but this conversation kind of reminded me of that. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.